Let's then move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the recruitment update. And I'm going to invite Joe Ross to address the paper.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's true to say we've discussed this issue on virtually every board meeting that we've had so far, which is absolutely right, of course, because it is the one risk that we've identified as a red risk in our case register. So the last time we discussed this was the last board meeting in Newcastle in September. I said at the time I was cautiously optimistic about hitting the recruitment targets, and I think I maintain that position this month. That's certainly where I think the evidence points. We've made good progress overall across the organisation, with really good progress in some areas, and I'll point to that as I go through the presentation. Also, as I go through, I'm going to give you some information and statistics to demonstrate the progress. The numbers change now quite substantially every day. Bill was saying earlier on, as we start recruiting managers and they recruit other people, it grows very quickly. So the numbers are changing very positively every day. So apologies there aren't any numbers in the paper, but the long lead time for the public board papers would make them slightly meaningless by the time we get here. I think from December onwards we'll start putting them in, and I'll do a verbal update at the meeting. So, to start off with, just with apologies for the repetition, but just to remind ourselves what the targets actually are, what the milestones actually are. There are two that we kind of seem to refer to as the December target and the March target. So, by the end of December 2012, in order to meet a commitment that we've made across the NHS system, that staff affected by the NHS reforms will know what's happening to them, what their personal futures are going to be. What we need to do, so what the commissioning board needs to do, is to have completed job matching for all relevant posts, and where there's not a match to a post, we need to have completed a recruitment process for people at risk. And then so that's the December target. By the end of March, that's very different. So by the end of March, we're getting towards the point where the commissioning board's going to take on its full responsibilities. So we need to ensure that the commissioning board can discharge those responsibilities effectively by filling all or the majority of its posts. Okay. So having said that, here's a bit of an update on progress since the last meeting. I think the first thing to say is the job matching progress is now in absolute full swing. When we sent our structure out to senders, the first thing we had to do is agree with them which jobs would go through the matching process and which would go straight out to recruitment. Broadly, that resulted in a position where 70% of our jobs are going through the matching process and 30% just went out to recruitment. Those 30% of jobs, of course, are things that the senders considered were so different to what people are doing in the existing system, we could just recruit to those. Matching, if you remember, is sender-led. So this is something that existing organisations are leading on with input from the trade unions. And what basically happens at a local level is we give our job descriptions to the senders, and they let us know if they've got any staff that they feel match those job descriptions. That might be one person. If it is, they slot into the job. It might be several people, and then there needs to be a competitive process, or there might be no one, in which case we then go on to recruit to the job, offering it to staff at risk first of all. I think it's worth saying at this point that this is a massive amount of work. There are, at the moment, there are 2,900 jobs that need to go through this process. And basically we're relying on staff in SHAs and PCTs to do this. And they've got day jobs as well, someone reminded me earlier on. So I think it would be very helpful if we could say thank you to them for the amount of work that they're doing to try and keep this process on track at the moment. It's also worth saying that because matching is sender-led, it is therefore a risk for us because we don't have complete control of that process. So if there are delays in the process, it has a knock-on effect to us. At the moment, we are on track and in some areas of the country ahead of schedule. So in London, for example, they are 3 weeks ahead on the matching process. I think it's also worth knowing that I look at the figures every day, and Ian and I look at them every week. And if we think there are some blockages or it's slowing down in certain parts of the country, we take action to try and sort that out. So to give you a feel for how it's going at the moment, what I've done here is I've added some bits of things together which I'll explain. But I should have said we'll circulate this information to board members in the next few days, and we'll put it on our website for anybody who wants to look at it. So what I'm going to give you here is some figures for the regions, which will tell you the number of jobs that are either in the matching process at the moment or have come out the other side. So what's in the pipeline or has emerged from the pipeline. So in London, 90% of jobs are in the process or out the other side. In Midlands and East, it's 73%. In the North, it's 72%. And in the South, it's 43%. And in total, that's about 1,700 jobs. So you get a feel for the scale of the pace and the way it's picking up. These are yesterday's figures, by the way. Today they will be even better, I suspect. You've probably worked out that means there are about 800 jobs left to be submitted for the matching process, which sounds like a big number, but I should reassure you that we've got a phasing plan of putting the jobs through matching rather than dumping them all on the senders at the same time. Because what we should note is that the senders aren't just looking at our job descriptions, they're looking at job descriptions from the NTDA, from HE, from Public Health England, whatever. So we've got agreed phasing plans with them. Our matching is due to be completed by the end of November, but as I say, largely we're ahead of schedule. The other bit of the risk around matching for us is that when jobs come out of the process, no matches are identified, and we then have to start a recruitment process for those jobs. Or indeed, that several people match to the job and there's got to be a competitive process. So to mitigate that bit of uncertainty, what we've done is we've asked each directorate and we're going to be talking to each region about identifying interview type arrangements for all those jobs to make sure that we can get them all in by the end of December. So I hope you can see from that there's a massive amount of work going on. I think Ian would want me to say people, not just people in SHAs and PCTs, but people in our regions are working really, really hard to get this through. Very long hours, and in a lot of cases they are quite small teams at the moment, and they're really doing very, very well. When we look at the number of jobs that are coming out of matching and how many of them are matching, the only kind of reliable statistics we've got to go on at the moment are the London ones, because they're slightly ahead of everyone else. And in London, 62% of the jobs going through the process are matching. I think that's probably going to be as good as it gets for the regions, because the structure in London is a pan-London structure, and the existing structure in London is a pan-London structure. It's much more similar than the other regions will be, so I don't expect the other regions to match at that kind of level. And then finally, I think on the numbers, I've got a very positive picture to report on VSM recruitment. So these are our very senior manager jobs. When you look at the December target, we're already 95% compliant with that. So that's very good. And when you look at the March target, we're 84% compliant. And when you look at the December target, the difference between being 95% compliant and 100% compliant is 12 jobs, most of which are in the recruitment process at the moment. And I have no reason to believe that any of those jobs will stop us from being 100% compliant at the end of December. And what's the most important thing about that, of course, is what that means is we've largely recruited our senior managers right across the country. And that will help us in our recruitment efforts for all the other posts. So on the basis of that information, what I'd like to suggest is that Bill and I have another look at the risk rating for the recruitment stuff. I would ideally like to take it out and talk to Bill about it. I think at the moment it runs together the two targets, December and March, and I think it might be useful to separate them. I feel very optimistic about March and still quite cautiously optimistic about December. I'd like to turn now to the issue of diversity that we talked about at the last board meeting. We had a very important discussion about this. If you recall, we looked at the diversity profile for the first 50 posts that we'd recruited to, and I took out an action to look at this in depth and make proposals about what we could do about it. what's happened since then is we've pulled a group of staff together across the organisation, a matrix group, if you like, with some experts in diversity. We happen to have some people in the organisation who've worked at a national level on diversity issues before, together with members of the HR team. We've met twice. The very first thing we did was initiate some short-term actions, because if you remember last time we said we're right in the middle of the recruitment process, what can we do now? We had a good route around what we could do now, and the big thing we felt that was very important is that we focused the attention of the senior management community on this and upped the communication to them about it. So we have been doing that. I write now to recruiting managers every 2 weeks. In the last letter, we refocused them on the recruitment task. We reissued the recruitment material that we'd given them before, and we asked them specifically to do a number of things. We asked them to ensure that they had diverse panels when they were interviewing. We asked them to ensure that at least one member of the panel had had training in the last 12 months, and we've provided some e-training for that to make it easier for people to access it. And then 2 very kind of specific things around the choices they were making. So we've focused them on asking questions at interview about values and the experience that people have of reducing inequalities, and we've given them some material to support that. And we've asked them, when they're making recruitment decisions, to weigh experience, technical expertise, values and diversity equally when they're making a decision. We've got a few things in train as well, so we're looking at monitoring and analysis of the data. I think we've got a bit of a capacity gap there, and I'm talking to Bill about that. I think we could turn the data around a bit more quickly than we are doing, and we could probably make more of the data. We're also talking to the trade unions about how they can help. We had a very good session with them on it a while ago, and they're very keen to help. So they're the short-term things we plan to do. When you look at the current statistics, which we will also circulate and put on the website, it's clear this is going to be an ongoing challenge for us, but there have been some small improvements since September. So there's an improvement in the overall percentage of BME staff we've appointed, so that's now 7.4%. And in VSM positions, we've improved on the restricted pool that we are drawing from. So when you look at the VSMs we've appointed, 4.2% of them are from groups that are classified as non-white, and the pool of staff we're drawing from, that figure is 3.3%. So we have slightly improved on that at the moment. The percentage of women we've appointed has significantly increased. It was 34.3% at the last meeting, it's now 47.2%. As I say, I don't want to get too excited about that. It's early days. The data I've seen most recently is based on about 230 posts. I'm under no illusions there's a lot still to do on this. But it does demonstrate some progress, I guess. In the medium term, subject to the board's agreement, I've got a proposal that I'd like to make. I think it's very clear we need a strategy and a plan to address this. And I would like to propose that we establish a task and finish group to do it. We've started reviewing the evidence relating to diversity to find out what works, and there is quite a lot of it out there. We've found some really good stuff, not least actually, I should say, some work done by the NHS Institute for Innovation and Improvement. And our thinking starting to coalesce around a number of areas that we need to take action in. Securing senior level commitment, monitoring, performance management, setting targets, all the things that Ed said at the last meeting, I think. And I think we feel that there are some things that actually we could start doing now. We don't have to wait for the strategy to be finished before we can start doing some things. But nevertheless, I think it would be very helpful to focus this work, to have a task and finish group with some representation from across the organisation, from across the board, and actually from outside the organisation as well, I think, from bring expertise in from outside. So that's me.
Good. Thank you. Victor?
I'm interested because I'm interested in what you've learned or what you've learned or are learning as a result of the situation. remains. You know, despite the fact that a lot of the work's been done.
That's a really good question. Can I give you my honest initial reaction and then maybe come back to it when I've reflected on it a bit more? Well, I think there's something about how upstream you need to be on this issue. So I think I said at the last board meeting, one of the mistakes we've made in the past, I think, is we've recruited and then we've looked at the profile and said, oh dear, that isn't really what we meant to do. So the recruiting in real time was partly designed to help that, but I'm not sure it was early enough. I think there were still some things we could have done further upstream. Maybe when we sat down as a system to talk about the people transition stuff and we set the rules of the game and we all agreed how we were going to do it, maybe we should have been talking about it. I mean, that's my gut, honest reaction, but I'd like to think about it some more, Victor. That's fine.
Thank you. Ed?
Just one short question going back to your first subject. Do you have built into your figures a difference between the numbers you recruit and the numbers that actually start? Or are you presuming that 100% of those recruited
No.
start?
No, I haven't got them here.
But you have built in a...
Yes.
That's fine. I don't need to know
Yes.
what it is, but
No. No.
you're recognising that
Absolutely.
loss rate.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I might have said last time, I think there's sort of different categories of people. So there are people that we're recruiting that will have a delayed start date. There are people that will start straight away, and there are people who'll do a bit of both their old job and their new job.
Can I just check with Joanne? I understood that she's more confident in meeting the March deadline than the December one.
I'm very confident about March. I'm cautiously optimistic about December.
Right, thank you very much, Jo, for that report. We're asked to note the progress, and we do with commendation. I think it's very reassuring to have had the data you've been able to give us today. You're undertaking to bring us a strategy for promoting diversity at a future meeting. We should add to that your proposal for establishing a task and finish group. And the paper also suggests a report for the December meeting on whether contingency plan need to be implemented. From what I've heard from you today, that's unlikely to be the case for March.
Certainly for March, yes, absolutely. And for December, I think we said last time, we have no reason to believe at the moment that we can't hit December. So it may be that we don't need it for December too.
Okay, thank you. We're happy to approve the paper on that basis. Right, for agenda item 9, Jo, it's back to you with regard to the Partnership Forum in terms of reference.
Thank you. I think this is fairly straightforward. I hope this is fairly straightforward. It follows on really from a theme that Bill touched on at the last meeting, one of partnerships, and these are very important to us in getting our business done. So this paper is simply to inform the board of the existence of and the work of the Commissioning Board's Social Partnership Forum, the place where we meet with our trade union colleagues to transact business. You'll note from the paper that basically what we've done is set up a transitional forum to take us through to next March. And on that forum are union reps of the people in the sending organisations that we are dealing with at the moment. And we're looking at things like the context of job offers to staff, what the Commissioning Board's HR policies are going to be, and also what we think the final end state partnership arrangements need to look like. What I just wanted to say about this was that we've got great shared ambition with the unions about the kind of organisation we want the Commissioning Board to be. They are as excited about it as we are. They are as keen for us to be an exemplar employer as we are. So we've made commitments to them about engagement, involvement, a no surprises type of relationship and mutual respect. And at present we have a very productive relationship with them. It's very helpful. And we have, as I say, shared aims and ambitions for the people who work for the board. And hopefully it will be a productive partnership.
Thank you. That's excellent context. Are we happy to approve the terms of reference?
Absolutely.
We are. Thank you very much.